Well, believe it or not, there is some snow down there. You have to look hard for it. Last of that snow from Sunday burning off and leaving us with kind of a muddy landscape. Clear skies, and let's take a look at that surface map. High pressure covering much of the southern U.S., and that leaves the northern half of the U.S. and much of the central states underneath this westerly gradient. You can see how the isobars kind of run about like that on average. And as a result, that's bringing the flow from west to east across the country. That's producing downslope conditions in the high plains. And you can see temperatures up near 60 everywhere from southwestern Kansas up to Montana. And that's warmer than some of the temperatures you see there in Texas. Very powerful Pacific system coming inland. That's given us these very strong gusty winds, gust up to 57 there around Great Falls, all the way up to Cardston, Alberta. And that's due to a very strong push of Pacific polar air coming inland. Conditions are mild in the southwestern states around the Four Corners area. We see this high pressure area kind of entrenched over the deeper valleys around the Rockies, and that's due to cold air that's locked in place underneath an inversion. However, where we have ridging along the west coast, temperatures are starting to come up well into the 70s. They'll be up close to 80 in some spots in Los Angeles, around the Inland Empire, down to Orange County, possibly down to parts of San Diego. And then a quick look up in the northern states and Canada and the Arctic. Looks pretty quiet. Don't see much Arctic air. I'm going to call this continental polar air. It's typically what we see this time of year. Little frontal system there trying to get organized. And you can also see where the push of Pacific air has come inland into Yukon and Alaska, and it's starting to stagnate and modify. And then our Siberian weather check. The coldest that I'm seeing, 65, minus 65 right up here. I'm not too sure that is Verkhoyansk. I guess it could be, but it is in that area. And yeah, that's the coldest reading I'm seeing. So bitterly cold air there, but still 25 degrees away from any records. A quick check of pressure and thickness with this beautiful little graphic from Tropical Tidbits. You can see that frontal system up there in the northwest. And if we actually draw the fronts out, we're going to get something like that right there. I do know that there's a low pressure area right there, so I'm just going to draw that in. So that puts our fronts about like that. And there is downslope flow on the plains, which kind of mutes the location of the warm front, but it's going to roughly be in this position right there. You can see the boxes showing the warm air advection in North Dakota, Minnesota, and Manitoba. So this entire area under warm air advection. And then north from the U.S.-Canadian border, an occlusion. And back over the western Montana region, fresh outbreak of cold air coming through that region. Cold air advection, strong air mass modification, unstable conditions aloft due to the tilt of the low into the cold air, and lots of snow showers in that region. Further south, you can make out the lee side trough. We're looking strictly at the pressure field as far as that goes. And then the actual departing cold air, that's a combination of this high on the Texas coast and this thickness bubble right there over Mississippi. And in the southwestern U.S., you can see the thickness ridging. Right there, the 564s coming inland. And if we just run that quickly forward, you can see how that builds up, and we get 570s by Saturday. And I think this would be a great time to run through the chart sequence and see how things evolve. What we're going to watch is this cold front coming out of the northwestern U.S., this warm front out in the high plains, and the outgoing high pressure area down to the south. So this will become less dominant and Let's watch that frontal system move into the northern plains. By midnight, moving very quickly all the way through Nebraska. Looks like it's past Denver. And then by this time tomorrow, it has made a beeline for Arkansas in Texas. So there's the leading edge of that front. The warm front is going to be located right about there. Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Charleston, down to Charlotte, North Carolina. And you can see that some of that cold air has even migrated south through Nevada and Utah. You can see those thickness lines out there. That marks the thermal gradient on the tail end of that front. And then going into Friday, that's how the maps are going to look like. Powerful cold front sweeping through the eastern U.S., the warm front located right there near Long Island, and triple point in that region with an occlusion extending back up into the Great Lakes area. So the coldest air is going to be right there over Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and we're going to expect that to move eastward with the frontal system. But however, you can see on the backside, warm air advection starting to set up. The downslope flow is getting established, so it should be a quick warm-up for that region. However, looking further out west, thermal gradient, so this could be a new front coming together. So we're kind of looking in this area here for a possible wave. Then going into Saturday, let's see how things evolve there. Yep, it is active in the Rockies. Looks like an upper-level system right there. And it looks like that front coming together right there, just kind of slipping southward through the Rockies. Outgoing weather system on the East Coast, occlusion back into the Great Lakes, and continued cold air advection in the Appalachians, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And just a quick look ahead. I mean, we could sit here all day looking at these graphics, but let's pick out the important points. Reinforcing shot of cold air coming in through early next week. Another shot coming in from the Pacific Northwest around Monday and Tuesday. And that really comes together. Some unsettled weather for midweek next week. And it looks like by Thursday the GFS finally picks up a wave, but not really cold enough for any wintry precipitation. It does look like it's pointing to a modest nor'easter around Friday or Saturday, 22nd, 23rd, and you can see that most of the precip, the wintry precip, will be confined to western New York, western Pennsylvania, and New England. Any differences with the European model? For the European model, we go back to pivotal weather. Of course, we don't get the thickness lines, but we can kind of compare the evolution of some of these systems. Looks much the same into the weekend. What we're going to be concerned with is this developing system there in the southwest, and there it comes southward. Most of the activity at this point is in the thickness fields, but gradually by Tuesday and Wednesday, you start to see the precipitation coming together as the warm air advection sets up in West Texas. So it looks like another winter storm, maybe a little bit weaker north of I-20 in Texas, and looks like a warmer storm system compared to the one last weekend. But the European model going weaker with development of this nor'easter, keeping it slightly offshore and reducing the warm air advection, and that's going to allow the cold air to kind of seep south a little bit further, with the precipitation fields being a little weaker than what the GFS indicates. So that means snows for New York City, Washington, Boston, but nothing too severe. So we're going to see which model wins out on that one. It'll take us several days to get to that. There's how things look in Southern California at this hour. We're not really up to the end of the afternoon, so they should come up a few more degrees. Hottest temperature I'm seeing, 77 there in San Bernardino. And that's about it for hot temperatures. Tomorrow should be the hottest day of the week. However, we're not expecting any daily record temperatures to be broken. and then there will be a slight cool down for Friday. They're also expecting some above normal temperatures in the desert regions. This chart from the Weather Service in Las Vegas shows the daily highs up at the top and the overnight lows on the bottom. And within that, we can see the daily record high and the forecast values for today and tomorrow. Overall, we're not expecting to break any records, but it will come a little bit close. And another place where we have weather going on this afternoon in the northern plains. Cold front rapidly moving eastward through Wyoming and Montana. Strong pressure gradients out ahead of that front, and that's bringing winds up to about 40 knots in Scottsbluff, all the way up to Gillette and Sheridan. And with that, downslope flow, warm temperatures. You can see Valentine, Nebraska, almost up to 60, and we're expecting temperatures to come up quite a bit in the Rapid City area all the way down towards Denver, where it's 61 at this hour. And there's how things look on the satellite imagery. We're going to zoom in on the northern plains. And that shows that dynamic weather system moving west to east. Looks like the cold front running about, right through here, possibly even further south. And in that area of downslope flow, some mid and upper level clouds, you can see some very prolific mountain wave activity east of Gillette and Sheridan. And that's all I have for this edition of Forecast Lab. I appreciate you all joining, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.